All right, so as we get started, I got to tell you, I'm not going to say reamed, but I'll say reamed. Kind of got reamed this morning from Shannon, and it was my own fault. All right. I wrote her this thing last week because I keep getting on this attendance list for not taking attendance, and I don't know why, and they don't know why. So I said, I take attendance at 12:36, right after it clicks over from 12:35. Anyone not in the room is considered absent. Anyone who comes in between 12:36 and 1 is tardy. All right? And she's like, because the rule here is 10 minutes. I'm reading this to both classes. I'm not accusing anybody. But what I'm telling you is, if you were to come in here between 12:36 and 12:45, you're considered tardy. If you come in here after 12:45, you are considered absent. Even if you're here for the whole class, you're considered absent. Again, these are Rankin's rules. They're not my rules. All right? I mean, where I used to work, people would walk in there 2 hours late for a 4-hour class, and we were still supposed to count them as being present. Well, I mean, if there's something like that, you have to tell me when you come in. Devin, that you know from class last semester, he came in last week and he said, hey, he said, I know I'm 2 minutes late. He said, believe it or not, I was speeding because there's a bad accident on A. Well, I'm going to believe him. All right. Now, I will tell you that there are other instructors here who would say that's tough noogies. Leave 10 minutes earlier. You know what I'm saying? But and as I was telling the class this morning, that doesn't mean if you come in and say that, then if you come in the next day, go, yeah, there was another accident. Guess what? Same place. Well, then it starts looking a little suspect, but occasionally stuff happens.
No, I was just saying, I was trying to decide if you're on the road and you're not here by 1 or whatever, should you just turn around?
Well, as always, that's your call. You know what I mean? But see, the thing is, we have a thing when we take attendance. We have this thing that says, where is it? I'm sure I won't be able to find it right now. But if I go, let's see, edit these entries. There's a thing in here that says, this manage sessions. So if I go in there and I go to manage sessions, okay, like I can write in there, for example, if it's you, I can go in by your stuff and I can put a note underneath it. And I can say, was not allowed to leave work early. And I've done that for quite a few of the first year people already this year. And if that happens, and if you're ever in danger of, them kicking you out for attendance and stuff, they look at that stuff. So, I don't know if that helps, but that's, like I said, that's about the best thing I can tell you about it. So. All right, I did do some work on this weekend. You may or may not have noticed. You did get an email from me. I'm sure you sit there at home on the weekend thinking, hey, maybe he'll email me. All right, but this is the way I've changed the site so it now looks like this. I'm going to give you all this too. All right, and it's the same as it was before, except we have two new division leaders with Pittsburgh and the Texans, but that's no big thing. I wouldn't really care that much, period. The About page is, well, that's nifty. All right, I better make sure I gave you that, but yeah, it's there. And the products page, if you look now, you've got all three of them. I made a drop down here. So if you go here, there's baseball. If you go here, this is what we had before. That's football. And if we go to here, that's the NBA. All right. Now, just so you're aware of it, I mentioned this to you last week. The NFL one is screwed up. This is the only page on here that the responsiveness, as you can see, it starts to break down here. I want you to fix that. I'll fix it too, but I haven't looked at it yet to fix it, but I want you to fix it. All right? And we have it set up so that, remember, so if I want a Dolphins hat, I click there. There's one item, $20. Okay, I think we said this last time, but we'll get into that in just a bit. So again, open the shopping cart. There it is. I'd like yours to be straightened out. I still haven't done mine. Proceed to checkout. That's what we're going to build right now. All right. So after this, everybody should have that. I'll give you a second to copy that if you want to copy it. But I'd like us all to be basically at the same exact spot as we start up here. All right. And I'm not saying that it's impossible that there are errors in my code. I would not do that and put an error in there on purpose. But it's possible there is one. All right? Like I said, I don't think there is, but I'm not going to lie to you and say, yeah, I'm 100% positive there's absolutely no errors in any of this code. Why? Because I wrote it. No. So the page that's not in here right now that will complete this site will be checkout.html. Now, please listen to this and look up on the screen here, whether you're copying it or whatever. When we get to this point, we're going to write the page as a class right now. All right? But when we get to that point where we're going to put the JavaScript in, much of the JavaScript is the same as what's in here, but not all of it. Did you hear me? So what I'm going to ask is when we get to that point that you grab that file and copy it into the actual HTML file, and then I'll let you ferret out what needs to be, taken out, etc. All right. So if you're all here, you still copying? Who's got it right now? All right. So you should be right here or on your copy. If you're going on your copy, it's fine. I have no problem with that whatsoever. All right. This page will look a little bit different. Just so you know, this page will look a little bit different than the other ones. But I'm still just going to grab the index page here, and I'm going to copy it. You can grab any page. It really doesn't matter. But I'm going to call this copied page checkout.html. That's the page that we do want to call when you click that button that says checkout. Make sense? So I just copied the index page and I changed the name of the copy to checkout. Now I'm going to open that page. There's some stuff in here I'm going to get rid of, etc. There's some stuff in there that's fine to keep. Okay. I'm going to jump down to, well, first of all, shopping cart. I'm going to change it from home to checkout. Should make sense. All right. We can still use all this stuff. I don't think we're going to even need our own style sheet, but that's fine. There was one thing I wanted to put into here. I am going to put in one line of CSS in here. Do we have to do it here? No, but I just did. Jeez. Come on. That's it. Just this thing that's in gray right here. And there will be one text box in here. I want that text box to be a number text box. Okay? So automatically what will happen when we run it, and if you click in that text box, you get the up and down arrows. Okay? Then we'll put some code in there in just a little bit. And in that code, we'll set it up so that it can't be negative. Because how many hats do you want to order? Negative 23. Doesn't make any sense. All right? We'll handle that later. I'm not going to put a maximum in just because of the fact that, again, if we end up selling to a place like Walmart, that might be a really big number we put in there. I don't know. All right? Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this whole header section that's in here, and I'm not going to use it. That's going to substantially cut down the size of this particular thing. All right. So I do want to start out with a container, but I'm just going to throw everything. This really isn't much that you're going to type. You might be surprised. All right. I'm not going to put a content area in there. I'm going to just try to keep it as simple as I possibly can. We can keep the footer in there, I guess. I left mine out, but now that I think of it, I suppose it wouldn't hurt to put the footer in there. All right. So that cut down the size of this to about 50 lines. All right. So I'm down to here, down to the start footer area right there. Okay. So I'm going to come in here and under my class equal container, I'm just going to start putting stuff in. Say that it's a checkout because it is. One thing, now that I think of it, and I get mad when I forget to do stuff I shouldn't forget to do, but one of the things that I forgot to do, and I'm just going to show this to you right now, I forgot to put this file in there. It's not that big a thing. I'm going to give you a URL. If you want to copy it, you don't have to. But if you do want to copy it, there it is. Oops. What did I Google to get that? I Googled PayPal. And I went and had to do some looking through it to find the one I wanted. I don't know if there's a magic thing that you can look up for it or not. I really don't know. But developer.paypal.com/docs/classic/PayPal payment standard integration guide card upload. It's about 20 pages long. And what's nice about it is they actually have some code examples in there where they recommend how you do different things. Okay? There's a lot of really good stuff that PayPal puts out there that tells you how to do this and how to do that, especially if you're going to use it for testing and you're not going to actually apply it. That's pretty much what we're doing here. But what I want to get to here is if you take a look as I'm scrolling down, we're going to have something that's going to look, it's not going to look at all identical, but somewhat similar to this. Instead of a delete, we'll just put a button with a red X on it. Okay? And it's not, again, not that big a thing. But as you work your way through here, I'm about a third of the way through, they tell you passing individual item details to PayPal. And they explain what to do. Most of it's done through hidden fields. And they give you an example if you've got a whole bunch of stuff that you're passing. So I use that kind of as a template. All right, does that make sense? You know, that's why I'm telling that to you. All right. It had been a while since I'd done anything with PayPal. In fact, the last time I did something with PayPal was not with ASP.NET, it was with PHP. All right, and I went to the same page and used the same stuff because you write it virtually the same way because this is client-side code anyway. All right, does everybody who wants that URL have it? All right. Like I said, I should double check because if I thought I kept a copy of it. Maybe I didn't. All right. Okay. So I'm back here. I'm going to start a form, And the reason I'm showing you that is I'm going to say here, action equals https www.paypal.com/cgi-bin/webscr, which I believe is for web scrape. And I don't know if I did that or if it did it by itself. There, it's better. All right. All right, by no means am I done, but I'm just showing you that. All right, so those are the form. And again, I got that, I believe, in that article. I don't remember. I was also going by some old code that I'd written, as I mentioned, for an old PHP project that I'd done. All right. So again, what I'm going to show you, this is taken almost directly out of that document that I just showed you. I've changed the names, of course, so they reflect the fields that I'm using as opposed to the generic names that they put in there for PayPal. Some of them you're able to use the generic fields, or generic names rather. You can put anything in here. This is the value, this is the email address for your business. So that's why I just put in my own email address, So I guess if you actually had a business, you'd probably put it in there. So. And then we're going to put in a table. These are both Bootstrap classes. By saying class equal table, you get a nice looking table from Bootstrap. The hover means that if I put my mouse on it, it'll change color. If I put my mouse on that row. If we want, we can make it striped. I mean, if you want to do this, go ahead and do it. And if you don't like it, just remove it. I think it's table striped. I don't remember. It's either table stripe or striped. I think it's with a D. We don't even need this because I'm doing the table striping. I'll show you two ways you can do this. All right, in just a minute. Can I move this up? Does everybody have this stuff? Yeah, I can move that up then? Okay. Put the table up at the top then. And I have to ask you a question in just a second. So, what we want to have, if you look up on the screen, I'll go right back to it, but if you look up on the screen here, where's my copy of the completed one? I don't know if this is it or not, so we'll check. Well, let's see if I go back. I've got like 5 or 6 copies in here. That's fine. Looks good. All right. It's up to you. What I mean is, would you rather have the X over here next to the quantity or over here on the end? Do you understand what I'm saying? Does that make sense? Right now it shows there. I'm looking at it, I'm thinking maybe I want it over here. You know, it's not really that big a thing one way or the other. You decide whatever you want. I've already got it coded. Now you can see where I had it coded. So I'm going to leave it there. But all you have to do if you want yours is we're going to put in, after this, we're going to put in a line that says remove. You put it at the beginning instead of at the end. That's all. All right, I'll give you a second to finish that. That's all the headings. Now there literally is about, what, about 5 more lines. That's it. So after the T head comes the T body, right? That's literally one line. We're going to put it in as one line. So there's that. I'm not going to put a T footer on there. So now we literally have, I think, 2 more lines, and we're done with this. Right? This is going to get filled up from our code. Does that make sense to everybody? In our JavaScript, we're going to write code that's going to fill that up. We'll do that in just a minute. The other thing that would be nice to put in here, by no means is what I'm about to show you mandatory, but I'm going to put in a couple blank lines, and then I'm going to put in here all right, we want this one we need because this is going to tell us to use PayPal. So we want to submit here. All right, that's going to be the first button. This next one we don't have to have, but it sure is nice to have it, and that is we're going to give you a continue shopping button. It'll just have you go back to where you were. That's all. And we'll just move you back to the products MLB.h. I'm assuming here that you're using the one that I just had you copy over. If you're not, you probably don't have a file that's called products MLB.html. So yours might break when you get there. So you know that. Yes. So if I save this and I run it, there's what it looks like right now. That makes sense? And I made these a group so they would kind of stick together. If you don't like that, this is a button. I just made it the whole width. If you don't like that, you want to make them right next to one another, you can do it any way you want to do it. It doesn't matter. All right? Everybody has this? All right. Then again, what I'd like you to do, if you look up on the screen here, is to go to your JavaScript directory here. There's a file called script.js in it. Open that file in your editor of choice, copy it to the clipboard, the whole file. However you do your copies. Then on the bottom of your checkout, you've got this script equals source. We're going to remove that. All right, we're just going to have a script line here. We're going to put it inline because I didn't have time to fix it. All right, so I just pasted it in. We can come in here and play with this, with the, whatever. Like I said, there's very little. This line will change, but there's not a lot in here that's going to change. So I'm sure you could, in fact, what I'd like you to do would be to take this file and the other file and see if you can merge them into one. It would just be cleaner to do it that way. You say, well, Jeff, I really tried and I couldn't. Okay, then we'll have to come up with something else. All right. So before we call output cart, we've got our document ready. Output cart, this is the line that changes, this one right here. All right. So change this to output. You know what output is. We just looked at it. We don't need this prevent default anymore because we're not going to have a hyperlink there. So we can get rid of that. And you really should. If you got junk in there you're not going to use, you really should get rid of it. There's no reason for it to be there. So info. All right, our item info that's here, that's just fine the way it is. We've got this item in cart thing. Yeah, I'm going to keep that. I don't need this quantity thing. So I've got those two lines. I'm going to make 2 more variables here. 3 more variables. Remove item. If remove item is true, we've clicked that button that we want to remove that item. Does that make sense? And whether you bought one of those or whether you bought 500 of those, you click that X, they're all gone. All right, if you bought 500 and you mean to buy 50 and you don't want to remove it, then you've got to go into that text box, that number field, and change it from a 500 to a 50. All right. I'll give you a second to put that in. So most of this in here is new. This is right under your output cart. That's right under the document.ready. what we will want to do, let's say that I go in there and I want to buy a New England Patriots hat. All right, but I accidentally put in there a Kansas City Chiefs hat. All right, one way that I can change that, rather than clicking that X, if I change the amount ordered, if I change it from 1 to 0, it means I'm not ordering any, correct? But if I've got a 0 in there, PayPal does not react very well when you say you want to order 0 of something. So it's going to be set up that if you put a 0 in there for a field, that field will be removed. Everybody hear that? All right, we'll have to put some code in to do that, but just so you know. So I'm taking it that everybody has this. Let me check my code. I think it's all correct. All right. So what I want to do is I want to check that quantity. And if it's less than or equal to 0, I know I don't want it there anymore. Again, I'm saying this again. Does that make sense to everyone? I'm saying basically get rid of it. So if that's the case, I want to do these two things. Now look up on the screen here. All right, so the quantity, if it's less than 0, and I screwed up. Hold on. I gave you the right code, but in the wrong spot. Okay? So, hold on just a second. I'm sorry. Yeah, we still want to put that if it's less than 0. But if it's less than 0, here, we're not in our loop yet. All right, I gave you the code for when we're in the loop. So we'll fix it in just a minute. All right, so if that's the case, yeah, we want to set the quantity equal to 0. In other words, again, look on the screen if you would, please. Everybody look up here. The way that this is set up is in here, this is going to be a number control in a minute. But if you don't put in code that we're putting in now, you can put negative numbers in there. We don't want that. That doesn't make any sense. Especially to PayPal, it doesn't make any sense. PayPal would be very, very confused. All right, so again, notice we got a 1 in here. Watch what happens. That makes sense? That's what we're telling it to do. So when it went from a 1 to a 0, hey, get rid of it. All right. So we're going to set the quantity equal to 0. And we're going to say okay, it has a value of 0. Now we want to go through this, and this code in here is going to change in just a second. Think about the difference between these. When we had the code in the .js file that we looked at before, the one we wrote last week, that was figuring out how many items we had in the shopping cart and how much it cost. Does that make sense? That's what we did. We already know that stuff now. Now we want to know how many you're going to order exactly, and we want to verify that. We also want it set up, so again, please look up on the screen here. This should make sense to you. And what I mean is, if I go in there and I say, okay, I want to order, no, I can't order a Yankees hat, God. But let's say I did. So I order a Yankees hat. I come in here, there's my hat. I go to the checkout. I notice if as soon as I put my mouse over that, see that? I get the, and did you notice that when I do this, can you see how this is being updated? Does that make sense? That's what I want. And when I go down, I want it to be knocked down accordingly. And again, when I get to 0, I want it to disappear. All right, so that's what we're doing right now. So if the quantity is less than or equal to 0, I'm going to make sure it's just set to 0. All right, then we looked at this last time. This is looping through everything I have. All right, it's looping through everything I have. So again, we have there if this equal that, okay, that's fine, but this isn't what we want to do anymore. Okay, so we want to check the current item, and here is where the magic happens. If the quantity is less than or equal to 0, it should never be able to be equal, but we're just putting that in there as a check. If that's the case, remove item is equal to true, and remove index is equal to index. And you might say, what does that mean? Well, this should be pretty self-explanatory. We're saying that we want to remove, all right, we want to remove that item. This right here, this value that you see here, that's this one that's right here. That's what got passed in. So that's the current item. So we want to remove its index. Now the good news is if we remove its index, if we've got 3 items in here, so let's say we've got 1 Brewers hat, 1 Cubs hat, I don't know why, and 1 Yankees hat. All right. Now we come into here and we remove this one. So what's going to happen is 2 things. The first thing is, what's going to happen is that's going to be removed. That should make sense. But then these were indexes 0, 1, and 2. Well, we don't have an index 2 anymore, so that becomes index 1. Does that make sense? It's because when you work with arrays in here, they're dynamic. So they can grow and shrink, you know, as necessary. Now, we need an else in here. I'm asking you this question. And if you think it's a hard question, it's not. Think about it. What does it mean if I'm in here? What? Yeah, in other words, we want to buy it. All right? If it was less than or equal to 0, we want to get rid of it. Otherwise, it's a valid purchase. All right? So in that else that we have right there, what we want to put in there is that's all legit. This QTY that we have right there, that's the number that's in here. So again, if we have the little boxes around it, all right, and we have the arrows that go up and that go down, that's this. Does that make sense? And we validly have an item in a cart. So that's set to true. Notice we initially set it to false. So we don't have to set it to false here. It already is. We could. It wouldn't hurt anything. But there's really no reason to do that. All right. Then next, what we wanted to do was we said here, if there's an item in the cart. Well, that's not it anymore. This, we're changing to, are you all with me? Are you in that part of your code? All right, we don't want not item in cart. We want here if remove item. And you already know what we want to do. We want to remove the item. All right, and there's different ways that you can do this. But the way we're going to do it is we're going to use a built-in command, and I'll explain what it is in just a minute. And the rest of the stuff that's in here is fine. We'll go to the output cart in just a minute. We have to make a couple changes in there, and then we'll be done with this. In English, this means what I just showed you on the board. Splice means that basically cut this one out, and move that one up. All right? And really change the array, because that's what we want to do. Shop cart, remember, we said at the top, shop cart is an array. All right? So all we're doing is we're removing what was there. And again, is that the only way? Hell no. There are other ways of doing it. This is just the way it's being done. All right, let's go down to output cart then. I don't remember how much at all changed in here. So I'm going to take a look. I think we called it SC in the other one instead of SCA. I made them different in case there were going to be any problems. So if this shop cart, we don't need this console. We don't need that checkout div show. We've got an output thing in there. We don't even have a checkout div. So that's okay. We can log stuff if we want to. I'm not going to log anything. All right. I don't really care about logging stuff now. We could. I'm just not going to. All right. We do want this holder. We do want the total. We do want the item count. Now, I'm asking you this question. These variables that are right here, this literally is going to hold the HTML that we put in here. Okay, it's this stuff. It's our purchases. Does that make sense? All right, so that's what that is. This is going to be the total of everything we bought. Remember, everything's 20 bucks. So if we bought 15 hats, total is going to be 300. Does that make sense? An item count is how many total we had. I don't even know if we're using that, but we'll leave it in there anyway. All right? All right, then we've got this dot each, shop cart function index value. Okay, subtotal is equal to the quantity times the price. That looks good. All right. We're going to introduce another variable here. We're just going to call it A. You can call it whatever you want. All right. Total plus equal subtotal. Item count plus equal parse int value dot quantity. That's good. All right. Now, this is really, really ugly here. See how long that is? All right. So I'm going to try to move that over as far as I can. Does that make sense? And I'm going to make it a little smaller so you can see everything. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to fix this line. Then when we get done, we're going to fix this line. We've got not that much to go. All right, we should be able to do this before we take our break. All right, so the bad thing is this is really, really ugly. So I want to grab it from the completed one. Why? Because if I don't, I'm going to make an error. I've warned you, this is going to be really, really ugly. What we've done is we've removed the item, or not removed the item, but we are going through and we are taking the ones that are left, formatting them, and putting them on a line. That's what this is doing. This is building our detail line. I know. How long do you think it took to actually create it and not make it, do it without making any mistakes? The answer was quite a while. I didn't have a thing that was done. I was sitting there doing it piece by piece, trying to get it to work. Good news is when we get done, we've got about a half dozen lines, then we're finished. This? This. Well, this right here is, I don't know, I've got mine different, but I'm hoping that yours works okay, but I busted it up like this because there was no way to get it all on the line. Let's see, I've got this as one big line. You may have to do that. If that's your question. I don't know. I have all of this from here up until right here put in as one line. No, I'm saying I did it like that so you could see it. What I'm saying is when you run yours, if it doesn't work, you may have to do that. But there's no way I could put it all in as one line and show it to you on the screen. What I should do is this. Print selection. What I didn't want was me to give you all the code and you not having to do anything and then just giving you points. Now you might say, that doesn't sound bad to me, all right, but that's not the idea. That's not a learning experience. That's a waste of my time and your time. This comes out today. Knowing me, I probably sent it to the wrong printer. Yes, I did. I sent this next door, so I'm going to.
It's all supposed to be within the first single quote. The double quotes are quotes within quotes.
It is 1:30. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give you until 2. I'll start back up then, get this typed in, and take a break. You might be better off taking it from the piece of paper as opposed to on the screen, okay?